Welcome to Does It Float? An experiment on buoyancy presented by the Aquatics and Athletic Facilities Division of the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission.
My name is Willa, and I work for the Prince George's Parks and Recreation Department at Allentown Splash, Tennis, and Fitness Park.
My name is Jasmine, and I also work for the Prince George's Parks and Recreation Department at THERESA Banks Memorial Aquatic Center.
In our division, we manage most of your favorite pools, both indoors and out.
We also manage the ice skating rinks, tennis facilities, and other athletic facilities.
Today, we're going to conduct several experiments on buoyancy. But first, what is buoyancy?
Buoyancy is a tendency of an object to float or sink in water.
If an object's density is less than water, it will float.
But if an object's density is greater than water, it will sink.
Many objects that you can find at home around will have different levels of buoyancy.
So today, we're going to try a few things that we have poolside.
So let's get started.
Welcome to THERESA Banks. Today, we're going to do a couple of different experiments regarding a few items that we have poolside. The first one is going to involve this beach ball. This beach ball is just a plastic ball that's filled with air. We're going to put it in and we're going to see whether or not it floats. This beach ball floats because it's less dense than the surrounding water. Now, what happens if we were to push this beach ball further down? Will it come back to the top? Yes, it does. It floats right back up to the top. Now, let's move on to our second experiment. Our next experiment is going to involve these two quarters. Are they going to float or are they going to sink? Both quarters sunk right to the bottom because they are more dense than the surrounding water. Okay? Now, let's move on to our third experiment. Our third experiment is going to involve just a regular orange. We're going to put it in and we're going to see if this floats or not. As you can see, the orange floats on top of the water. That means it is less dense than the surrounding water. Now, let's see if it stays on top of the water even after we push it down. So despite being heavier than the ball, it still manages to float. Okay? For our fourth experiment, we're going to see what happens if we remove the peel and the pith from the orange. The peel is the orange shell that goes around the orange. The white part is called the pith. That is found underneath the shell. We're going to put this in and we're going to see what happens. So this time the orange sank. That means it is now more dense than the orange with the peel and pith. Okay? If you try this at home, please make sure you remove the pith. If you do not, it probably will still float. Now, let's move to the pool for our final two experiments.
Hello, I'm back. Are we ready for the last two experiments?
Yes, but first, let's introduce our helper for today.
Wonderful.
Our helper is going to be Alicia. She's one of our lifeguards here at THERESA Banks.
Okay, so next up we have this 10-pound dive brick. This is a tool that we use for lifeguard training. I'm going to toss this in the pool, and I predict it's going to sink because this is a pretty heavy brick. Ready, Alicia? Here it goes. Definitely sunk. The brick is on the bottom of the pool.
Now, how heavy did you say that brick was?
That was a 10-pound rubber brick.
Okay, so this ball is 13 pounds. It's heavier. Do you think it's gonna float?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's see. The ball came right back to the surface. Therefore, it's less dense than the surrounding water. So Willa, let's do one last experiment. Let's watch what happens when Alicia jumps in. So, people have different levels of buoyancy. So when Alicia jumped in, she sank to the bottom.
I wonder what would happen if Alicia was wearing a life jacket when she jumped.
That's a good question.
When Alicia jumped in, she sank to the bottom. I wonder what would happen if she was wearing a life jacket. Here she is, buoyant and right at the surface of the water.
Thank you for coming with us to Theresa Banks.
We hope that you enjoyed yourselves.
And learned something new about buoyancy.
Please remember to always stay safe in, on, or around the water.
And don't just pack it,
Wear your jacket.